Salve galera da BudoTV, aqui é o Professor Tales e hoje trazendo aqui uma entrevista super especial diretamente de Torrington, no estado de Connecticut, nos Estados Unidos, com o mestre Dean Franco, que vai estar falando com a gente hoje sobre algumas modalidades que ele ensina por aqui, como o Western Piper e o Tech Blade. Além de outras modalidades que ele pratica e ensina. Tá? O mestre Dean vai estar contando um pouco da história dele, vai estar contando um pouco do currículo dele e, obviamente, vai estar deixando também os contatos, né, para aqueles que quiserem conhecer mais sobre o trabalho dele, conhecer mais sobre as modalidades das quais ele trabalha. Well, Master Dean, thank you so much for this interview for us to the BudoTV. It's a great honor for us to have this opportunity to talk with you, to learn more about you, and especially to know more about Piper and to know more about the Tech Blade.
It's an honor. Thank you for taking the time to do this, and thank you for coming by and to train. Amazing, like in another part of Connecticut, took an Uber to get here to train, so salute to you for even doing it. It's a real honor. Like most of us around my age, a traditional style, and for me it was Taekwondo. So I was doing Taekwondo and the UFC came out circa 1993, and what I was seeing, I wanted to do that, like not really knowing what I was looking at, but knowing I wanted that. So I started training mixed martial arts at school in Waterbury, Ron Kozakowski, but he also offered Filipino martial arts at that time, which I had no idea. So I took a class, and I don't think I ever went back to the MMA class. I just went head nose dive deep into Filipino martial arts. So it was Anasano blend, what I was learning then, but my interest really peaked. And so I went to go train with Sayak, Atienza, got certified both the nose. Then I had a school, which I was teaching MMA for kids and FMA back in 2002. So it was kind of, not many were doing that. But I had the school in the early teens. I kind of got sick of teaching. I wasn't really getting training. So I went back to being a student. And then went under Bert Richardson, still under him, Amok, Tom Sotis, Khalid's Illustrissimo under Burton and Brandon Ricketts, and also started training and looking at other knife systems, because I was really becoming edge weapon centric, particularly knife, because I really wanted to be really good at, God forbid, empty hand against knife. And what I was seeing out there, it wasn't making sense to me, their methodology. So I did a really nosedive, which segues into why I took Piper under Lloyd Jean and Medusa, just to look at everything, and then put it under my system, which was formed early 2000s, which is called Blade Technologies. So Blade Technologies is a comprehensive outlook on knife, not just offensively, but defensively, but more importantly, all ranges, from standing, dueling, clinch, and even on the ground. And what really completed it was this intrinsic look at the prison systems, and particularly Western Piper methods. So Piper is a criminal-based system, and we certainly don't embrace that. However, though, we look at it like, God forbid, how would I defend against this? And there's some amazing material tactics in there that can be replicated with weapons that are legally defensible. So when we look at Western Piper methods, we're looking at the Western approach, legality, philosophical approach. We move differently. We're not part of a criminal element in there. And so we take their tactics, we look at self-defense, we look at controlling a diminishment, we look at transferring to other weapons that are legally defensible, which I touched upon, and what can you take from training Piper that can benefit your other arts? And so that's what WPM is about in there. Yeah, so Piper basically is very, very point oriented. I mean, thrusting based. Yeah, look at the flash. Yeah, sure. It should be right over there. Thank you. Anyway, so very thrusting oriented. Lloyd only gave me 2 transitional slashes. Thank you. So again, heavily thrusting, rear grip, power oriented. Lloyd really stressed, sometimes intentionally seeking bone, a lot on the rotational, linear to rotational momentum and how that segues into our striking in there. But again, for Western civilization, a lot of my clients or students, there's some countries that knife's not even legal. So when I formed WPM, while I was showing everything through the lens of the knife, so they could get the tactics, the mechanics, the understanding why we do, the methodology we do, I immediately though put in there other weapons that were legally defensible. And one of them that my personal favorite, but one that generally resonates with a lot, is a flashlight. So if you notice, when I was holding the knife in Piper, reverse grip, right? So Piper has that natural, orbits, that power coming from the rear load and their natural power orientation from this low striking. But what's nice about other weapons, whether it's a palm stick, it's a flashlight, a tactical pen, whatever, it fits this rear load. So with this, I can flash their eyes, diminish their seeing, compromise their vision while I'm striking there. But if you look at what I'm doing, it fits perfectly to the mechanic I was just showing with the knife. Obviously, this is going to be seeking, blunt weapon, bone, all that, and generally speaking, face and head for obvious reasons. But nevertheless, it really transfers as well until there are weapons that are legally defensible. Cover now is what makes up Western Piper methods or Piper, and I just want to really be transparent here. I am sharing with you everything that Lloyd shared with me. Okay, so I want to be just transparent. This is not stuff I just looked up online or YouTube. So this is directly information that Lloyd has given me. So there's 3 things. Okay, Zulu fighting arts, particularly spear and shield, and war club and shield, a Zuni stick to be more specific. Number 2, Western boxing. Okay, so the Queensberry boxing, when the English went down there, boxing is also influenced there. And I'm going to show examples of this. And lastly, the Malays were brought there, the troubled ones. I'm only giving you what Lloyd told me. Heard different variations for different folks that they brought the troubled ones there. There was a community there, what have you. Hence the introduction of the small knife and more of the silat movements in the close, the bouncing, some of the takedowns, some of the the smuggling and different movement types that are silat-like movements. But I'm going to first start out with the shield. So if you notice in the previous questions, I was holding the knife in this rear load. So we would call this a shield hand, and I have my knife here, right? Okay. When we look at where the influence of that is pretty much from the Zulu art. So imagine I have this, lack of a better shield, sorry, okay? So imagine this is my shield, this is my defending stick, okay? And I have this war club. So here would be my posture. And actually taking Zulu lessons from Guru Burton, I've got starting to get a more in-depth knowledge of this. So I have this shield here, and I have here this, in this case, a Zuni war club. This also could be where I have this spear, okay? But still, there would be a shield in there. So coming from this rear load. So you can see how the influence from this structure, how that, when I was showing you before with the knife, okay? In there. That, again, is an example of the influence there. And of course, there are other stuff, but I'm just touching upon just a few things. The Western boxing, okay? Our footwork, step drag, to our drop step, sometimes referenced as the Jack Dempsey drop step, okay? Our shielding, our moving, our covering, our bobs and weaves. Those would all be examples of where the boxing influence comes from. Also, punching with an instrument, whether, again, not just knife-centric. Again, I want to emphasize, Western Piper Methods is not just knife-centric. We show the knife to illustrate everything else. But if I were to turn this over and I did this like a jab, and I punch with that, you can kind of see the jab cross, okay? That certainly could be that too, all right? That would be some of your boxing influences there. Lastly, the silat. It's kind of unknown what specifically what silat. However, what I'm seeing, what I took from Burton, it has a very close parallel to Budi Nagara with the off balancing in there. So we have a lot of off balancing, whether it's hip off balancing, knee, shoulder bumps, that being the silat. Certainly our takedowns, our sweeps, definitely silat influence. And also these movements here where I'm coming here and I'm making it disappear. Those moves, sometimes you'll see stuff like this and there. Those, in my opinion, based on taking silat, are kind of, that's where I believe that stuff kind of came from. Now, again, I'm gonna be completely transparent here. I'm sharing you what Lloyd shared with me. You know, do your own diligence, you know, ask questions in there. But that's basically what you're kind of seeing today as far as Piper, particularly Western Piper methods, and what Lloyd gave to me when I was underneath Lloyd.
Well, Master Dean, thank you so much for this interview. It was amazing. Thank you so much to have this opportunity to share with the Brazilian guys about your arts. And please, for those who want to know more about you, to keep in contact with you, how they should proceed.
Yeah, so if you want to get a hold of me, if you have questions regarding anything, you can basically, the best place is Facebook Messenger, just Dean Franco. I do have an email, which is marmax40@aol.com, MARMAX40@aol.com. And again, any questions on, you know, Piper, Western Piper methods, BladeTech, Medusa, under Burton Richardson, all his programs. Also, I run FMA discussions, so on Facebook, pretty easy to find.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Marcelinho.
Oh, thank you.
E para vocês, não deixem de se inscrever no canal e para acompanhar os próximos lançamentos. Valeu, galera!